second time I went back-to-back?
No, I thought someone won it the year before. I think Matt won the year before.
No, I won the year before because I had the Jaguars defense.
I'd look at it.
And they went nuts all year long, and I won the league because, like, Jacksonville was the highest scoring, almost like the fourth highest scoring thing out of anybody in the league.
Yeah, you got laughed at for that pick, by the way. I remember the little group chat, like, Jacksonville defense, really? You just like, I know something y'all don't know.
I'm like, much. And then after week one, everybody went, holy crap.
Nice. So
yeah, because I think I went back-to-back. I did last year and the year before. No, I did go back-to-back this time. And then I went, the other times that I won it, I went back-to-back too.
Okay. I had to double check. All right, what are some of the best team names that you use? We'll start with you, Mike.
Well, my favorite one, because I had him for 3 years, I had Julio Jones on my team. I kept the same team name. It was Game of Jones. A little playoff of the Game of Thrones. So, there was 1 year that I had, like the first year that I had him, I had the 8th pick. It was a 10-team league, and I had the 8th pick. I picked him. And on the wraparound, I was able to get Odell Beckham.
Ooh.
And that was when Odell Beckham had, 15 touchdowns in a year? It was the second year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like, it was crazy because I was riding those two through the whole season. And I actually had a decent setup completely. I kind of suffered a little bit at running back, but, you get a couple of good ones when it comes down to the committee in late season. Those second and third strings definitely come into play. But I was taking these two and just saying, hey, I'm riding all the way to the championship. I ended up having, so just a quick little story. I ended up having, it was our semifinal game, and the guy I was going against had Ben Roethlisberger on a Monday Night Football game. And so Sunday comes, I'm playing, I have like 197 points, and I had like the most points the whole season. Like everybody on my team went off. So I'm like, yo, I've got this. I'm going to the final, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the week that David Johnson scored 3 touchdowns against the Philadelphia Eagles. Mm-hmm. And then that Monday night, Ben Roethlisberger goes off for like 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. Right? Yep. Mind you, this was the first year I've ever played like this, and our commissioner had points for passing touchdowns that were at 6. And we had it was crazy. Like it was completions as well. So he threw like 50 balls, but he had like 35 completions. Yeah, so that was an extra 20 points for the guy I was going against. So he ended up scoring 210 points, and I lost by 13. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, it was just bananas. And then, I was playing for third place, and I ended up smoking that game. I ended up winning third place in the league that year. I smoked the guy I was playing against. And then when I looked at the final score for the championship game over the 2-week span, I would have just obliterated both of those teams too. So if Ben Roethlisberger hadn't had 6 touchdowns that night and 35 completions and 600 yards, I would have won that league that year.
Oh my gosh, how frustrating that! You know how frustrating that is. You see that and like, I should be there. Look at we got now. They want to play well the next week. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. It was about as frustrating as when I beat Cortez by 0.7 points.
And on top of that, so just I won't get into it right now because it's one of the topics, but I had a third receiver that I used as my flex, and it was Julian Edelman.
No.
So I had not only those two, but I had Julian Edelman with the PPR, and that man scored like 25 points that game.
Oh, good. Jesus. Yeah. But what game was that though, Cortez? We were watching. It was Monday night. It was Monday Night Football, and I was winning. And Cortez had somebody in the game, and he needed one more catch.
Well, at least a PPR. You could win a PPR. And
he needed one more catch. And I was like, just hold on to the ball. And then they fumbled. And I was like, yes.
Man, those type of situations are frustrating. There was one year I had Brian Westbrook. And it was the year that the last week that they kept him out the next week for the playoffs, but in the last week that they played Dallas, and he had a breakaway touchdown, and he downed it at the 1 yard line when time expired.
Yep.
Yeah, I had him that year. That really hurt me. That hurt my feelings.
Kevin, what are some of your best names that you use?
Let's see. I always used to get Maurice Jones-Drew. So one year it was WWMJD. what Maurice Jones-Drew? It was WWMJDD. Yeah, it was DD. It was double D's at the end of it. And then I think my worst one I did, though, was right after the Aaron Hernandez stuff. And I named my team Hanging with Hernandez.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
to Kevin to tote that line, wow. Right?
Oh yeah. I was like, should I do it? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. I was like, Hanging with Hernandez.
That is funny. Oh man, I just keep it simple with the team name. I just use the one team name, man. And I never came with anything creative. I just do CP Baller Nation. Never really.
I always change in our league, though.
Huh?
I try to always change it in our league.
Yeah. I like your one that your Miles Jack wasn't down.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, that one last year.
That didn't turn out too well.
Yeah, a couple of my buddies, they use ones like my Balzac Ertz.
Yeah.
Yeah, then one of my buddies had Pittsburgh Feelers. So those are kind of creative. All right.
They are, yeah. They are creative. So, yeah, I like to see different team names and what people come up with and everything like that. So, it's pretty cool, man. I think for the league that I commission, maybe I change it if I ever win the league. So right now I'm just hanging on tight with my traditional name. So, let's move forward here. So the fantasy sports market is worth $7.2 billion, which have 59 million players in the USA and Canada alone. Can y'all pinpoint
why? Huge.
Can y'all pinpoint why this is so popular, more so than ever, Kevin?
Because the game. It's just because the game has become, the NFL itself has become a big, gigantic entity in its own right. And now these younger millennial people that have been following this sport for God knows how long and still think LeBron James is the best basketball player ever have started. Oh, I had to throw that in there. They've started to make money. So now they find stupid ways to waste money. And now they're like, hey, I can play fantasy football, enjoy football and everything. And that's why this business has grown. And it's gotten huge. Because a few years ago, people were just playing this shit for fun. And now with the daily fantasy games and everything like that, it's just become nuts with DraftKings and what's the other one? FanDuel, and all that stuff. It's become crazy that they took something that people were doing just to have fun, and now it's just became a multi-billion-dollar company with guys that get paid just to be like, hey, draft this guy because in the PPR, AR, PhD, FCTC, whatever league, he's going to put you up a lot of points. And then guess what? The majority of the time, those asshats are wrong.
Yep, they get paid to be wrong, man.
Mad at people.
It's like, what are meteorologists? What's your opinions on this, Mike?
I think like Kevin was saying, as the game gets bigger, all this stuff gets bigger. But you also have other fantasy sports. Like you got fantasy basketball, fantasy baseball, fantasy hockey, fantasy golf, NASCAR racing.
Fantasy NASCAR, greatest thing ever.
So for me, I'm looking at this like fantasy football stands out. There's only 16 games in the year. It's easier to manage a team throughout that season than it is through, let's say, baseball for 162 games. I've done fantasy baseball as well. It is a wreck. At one point in the season, you're like, I give up. So I think the consistency. What's that?
I said that's usually after game 12 of the baseball season. I'm like, yeah, I quit.
Exactly. So, like, I think with 16 games, the fantasy football season tends to go like a perfect length. But I think a lot of it is focused on like the gambling aspect. Like when you're talking about FanDuel and you're talking about DraftKings and those daily fantasy sports, we can't do those out here in Arizona because it's considered as gambling. So when you're talking about Las Vegas, like a big attraction for, Las Vegas is a lot of the gambling that goes on outside of, any of the hotels or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Gambling seems to be a lot of people love to gamble, period. And when you're gambling on something where you can literally say, well, I bet this player is going to have, these type of stats, and you go against somebody else, it's like, no, I bet this player is going to be better. That competition aspect, you put $20 on that bet, then it's like, hey, let's just do a whole team type thing. You know what I mean? So I think the gambling aspect is huge when there's an adrenaline rush of winning to losing or making your money back or whatever it may be outside of being fun. It's more of a business than it has ever been as years progress. So, I mean, all those kind of combined, and then that kind of overall helps the game grow. People are attracted to the NFL then at that point because it's bigger than all of the other fantasy sports. So you've got people going to the games more, people supporting players more, people getting more interested. So it's a way for the NFL to actually open gates to even new people that may not have even really paid attention. They just might be professional gamblers. They might go to Vegas every weekend and throw something on blackjack. Well, this is a good opportunity because people tend to need that rush, so to say.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there's some people that do this that don't even have an NFL team. Their NFL team is their fantasy team. They literally don't care nothing about a certain team. They just care about all of these players that they have on their team. And that makes good because you got all these guys having their eyeballs on almost every game on every week during the season. And it's huge for the game of football. But for just gambling and money purposes, it's gotten even bigger.
Yeah.
And agreed.
Still a growing industry, the fantasy football.
I ain't spending no goddamn money on it.
Yeah.
The only reason I gave FanDuel any money back in the day was because they let me sit by the swimming pools.
So I won't tell you how, but I was able to actually get into using FanDuel, and when it was first popping off, I actually was making about $1,500 a week on it and just withdrawing it real quick. I did maybe about 6 lineups, usually every Sunday.
Wow.
They had $25 lineups where like the top, was it like, I think there was like 150,000 people that would join this one day specifically, because you could have smaller ones, but FanDuel had a big pot league going on, and so like, when you have those type of odds, like I literally put in a team that made me $700 on one day, and it was just the difference of 2 players, but majority of it was all the same players throughout the whole thing. So you have your ones that really stand out and whatever it may be, but that was pretty interesting. Actually being able to do the daily fantasy and actually making money on it. It was a little bit addicting. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's crazy, and the key to that thing is finding that one guy that no one else is going to grab. That you can
one
in there. Exactly. It's because it's always one guy that just has that blow up game, and he only costs $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like one week it was the one that went nuts for me when I actually played it was Ted Ginn Jr. Nobody had him, and I picked him because he was only $5,000, and he ended up going out, and Drew Brees only wanted to throw the ball to Ted Ginn Jr. I went nuts. I was like, oh, look, I won like $20 because of Ted Ginn Jr. And I hate Ted Ginn Jr., but right now I love Ted Ginn Jr.
Right.
Oh, man. That's funny. All right. So according to Yahoo Sports Ranks and their fantasy projections, we're going to discuss a little bit of that. They got a quarterback. They got Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield. They did have Andrew Luck. So, but now,
wonder where he went.
Yeah, now it'll be Matt Ryan that's going to be replacing that. Our wide receivers: DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Thomas. Running back, they got Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. Ezekiel Elliott, if he signs his contract.
And there's another one, no.
And then David Johnson. And then on defense, they got Chicago, Los Angeles, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Minnesota. Tight end Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Zach